Um, so, as Lawrence just said, we're going to be praying into nations, and we realize as we've kind of looked at more and more into this whole subject that um, that we are definitely, and I'm going to say that definitely, either at the beginning of end times, in the middle of end times, or very near the end times, one way or another, something is going on that we know the coming of Jesus draws near. And he told us in Matthew 24, there would be all these things that are going on that we're actually seeing today. And so this morning, as we are worshiping and praying, I just want us to understand the enormity of what is going on. And I know I don't want us to get heavy with bad news or that, but I only say these things because the prayers are the people that change history. The prayers and the worshippers are the people that set the global agenda. It's what God puts on our hearts to pray that he wants to do, that he will do. So never underestimate that the two of you in your little room praying, that is world changing. Okay, hear that, it's world changing. And when we come together like this, maybe 60, 70, 80 of us, it's world changing, not because of us, but because we're praying the prayers that Father's put on our heart to pray so that he can answer them. So the prayers, the intercessors are the history makers, they're the world changers. So today we're at a time of 27 major wars around the world. This year, in 6 of those conflicts, already this year, over 300,000 people have been killed. In Ukraine, it's 156,000, Myanmar, 17,700, Afghanistan, 3,700, the Mexican drug war, 6,900, the Yemeni civil war, 6,300, the Ethiopian civil war, nearly 100,000 have been killed just this year. So that's just 6 of them. That's just 6 of them. And so 3.2 billion people living in the world today, this morning, are living in conflict zones. 13 million Syrians have been displaced since that war. Researching the cost of the global conflict 4 years ago was 14 trillion. Goodness knows what it is now. 14 trillion would cure the world hunger problem 42 times. So we can see this is absolute enemy activity to rob, kill, steal, and destroy. But that's why this morning God has called us to pray. And I don't want any of you to underestimate the power of your praying. And as we see all this, and all those, the 6 that I've mentioned, all those situations are deteriorating day by day. Man's got no answer to those problems. So, but I just want to tell you a little quick story to build your faith. And then we're going to pray. Because we want to pray the Russian-Ukraine situation. The answer to the Russian-Ukraine situation, the beginning of it lies in the people of God. At a recent conference, literally 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, there was a conference in California of prayer leaders from around the world. There were Russian leaders and Ukraine leaders, and they wouldn't talk to one another. They wouldn't pray with one another. They wouldn't talk to another. The Ukrainians had seen so much devastation, so many of their friends lost, so many killed, all that. They just couldn't pray. And yet the conference knew that if somehow there could be some healing and reconciliation, that would change the spiritual atmosphere. So we're going to pray this morning for a miracle of God's grace, that somehow the body of Christ would come together in healing and be the leaders in the whole healing reconciliation of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. That's a massive issue. It's a massive issue and not easy. But let me just tell you this quick story. A number of years ago, we had the privilege of going to Romania. We were helping to lead a conference there, prayer conference, with people from across Europe. Started the first morning, Muggins, he was leading it, and it was just so hard. It was so difficult. And I couldn't work out what the problem was. Is it me? Is it us? What is it? And after about an hour of struggle, somebody came up and said, "Can I just say something?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "Well, the Hungarians are sitting that side of the room, and the Romanians are sitting that side of the room, and they hate each other, have done for hundreds of years. And that we are on a site where for centuries blood was shed as Romanians and Hungarians fought each other. We were in a castle right up on a mountain in steep snow, so cold." And so I said, "Right, let's stop everything. We're going to go up onto the balustrades of this castle with trumpets, coats, heads, scarves, whatever. We are going to blow trumpets. We're going to declare the victory of Christ over this whole plain where these wars had fought. And we're going to leave the Romanians and the Hungarians down here and ask God to help you." So we went up and for a freezing hour. It was just so cold. But anyway, we blew trumpets. We declared the victory of the cross. We spoke the blood of Christ. We spoke the blood of Christ over the blood of in the land. We kept going as long as we could. And in the end, we were so cold, we went back downstairs. The whole floor was covered with people lying on the floor weeping. Hungarians, Romanians, just weeping together, asking for forgiveness. So our friend Peter Boss is on his way home from the conference on a plane, and he's sitting next to an MP from the Netherlands who he knew. Peter said to him, "Oh, what are you doing here?" "Oh," he said, "I was part of an EU delegation because we were concerned that the tensions between Hungary and Romania were building again and there could be another conflict, another war." So Peter said, "Oh, right." And then this guy from the Netherlands said, "But said it was remarkable. The other morning at 11 o'clock, said peace broke out." They said it was just like everybody went and said, "Well, the Hungarian went to the Romanian leader and said, can you forgive us and for history?" And he said, "Well, we've come home." He said, "The job's done." And of course, Peter Boss, then being Peter Boss, said, "Well, actually, we did that." But because as we were praying and declaring, peace broke out in that conference. So I just share that story with you because as we now pray for peace to break out, that God will step in. And that the body of Christ that is in such pain will have the grace to come together, and all the efforts that are taking place to try and bring them together will be successful, because that will be the key to the healing of this conflict. So is that okay?